All right, look, Teezo Touchdown, a guy, a myth, a legend, if you would say. He is a very interesting artist, in my opinion. I think that he makes music that is pretty much like the most palatable version of every genre that he tries. He tries a bunch of different genres, and I think it's very interesting. Now, do I believe that he's going to become this big megastar or anything like that? I don't believe so, unfortunately. I think that the music industry is so saturated that being experimental with music doesn't necessarily land you pretty far inside the music sphere. And actually, it's probably easier to just find the sound that actually works for you and then just keep and honing that one. But hey, let's just play devil's advocate. What has Teezo been doing to get these big ass features, you know? And I think there's a few things that's been happening lately. I think that Teezo is very interesting when it comes to his look. The way that he presents himself is very, very palatable to a very, very white audience. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And I think that he's also small enough to where getting the feature from him means a lot to him and not that much for every other artist that he works with, you know? His full length album that came out and the deluxe and all that showcased a lot of his strong points, but also showed how sloppy his music is while trying to be this, all encompassing artist. Because a lot of the times when you're making music that peaks into multiple different genres is usually not the best, you know? Is when you usually like, make a very concise, very, very well thought of genre and or stance in music that you see a real peak in interest. But I feel like the album was so all over the place that it didn't really stick to the regular consumer. Now, people who are in love with those type of genres, they probably thought, "Oh, this is a cute imitation of stuff that I like." And then people who are like me, who's not necessarily in the niches and or listening to the type of music that he explored during the album, say, "Damn, this is pretty good." But I think that Tizo is just a very interesting person, and I want to see where his music goes in this next up and coming album or whatever project that he drops, because I still don't know what he can do necessarily. He can sing, he sings well. I think that his aesthetic is really cool. The rock star, whatever, it's nice. It's not a lot to go off of yet, you know? He's still very much a smaller act while also somehow getting these very, very, very high features or whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? And does this train keep going? Like, does he continue to have big features throughout his career? I don't think so. I think that the fab of Teezo Touchdown is probably rearing his end unless he somehow finds some type of way to make a big splash or a big hit again. Well, not even again. He hasn't had a real hit. He just was kind of on pretty big songs. So I'm just curious to where he takes the music, you know? And it could be like a situation like Steve Lacy. Steve Lacy was also a very niche artist, but he had the one big breakout song and then, it kind of switched this whole trajectory of the music, He finally found the place in music that he feels he's excelling in and feels comfortable in. So again, I am very eager to see what he does, and yeah, let me know if you like his music. So far, I give everything that he has out. I have very standout tracks, but I think I give him a 5 out of 10. I know it's a little harsh, but he still has a lot of time to make more music. The more music you put out, the more interested I'll be, Anyway, that's literally it about Tizo. Again, his his career is kind of super short, so it's kind of hard to even gauge where he's gonna be at. But I'm hoping that he does some cool shit. All right, I'm out.